Hey everybody, Chief Meteorologist Brad Panovich here. Thanks for tuning in tonight. We're talking about the flood threat, and tonight we've had just light to moderate rain, but over the next couple of days, I actually think this flood watch could be expanded. Right now, I'm going to zoom in real closely here and I can show you kind of, it takes into most of our mountains and foothill communities, all the way down to Lincoln County, Catawba County, Cleveland County. But here's the thing, I actually think there's a pretty good chance that we're likely going to see this expanded to other areas, just depending on, how much of this rain falls. The thing to remember about this goes through Thursday, so tonight's just kind of the beginning. So let's go right to the radar, show you what's going on tonight. And actually, we needed the rain, so a lot of the rain we've seen tonight has been beneficial. The problem is, this is just the beginning. Now, we've got this heavy cell moving through parts of Union County. Real heavy downpours right around Monroe. We had some cloud to ground lightning strikes with this. I've been watching these little cells just to see if there's any wind in them, but there hasn't been a whole lot. And I'm going to look at the velocity data here. Just not a lot in there. So there's no really significant severe weather threat, but a couple of these at times have shown some broad level circulation in them. Nothing that I would definitely be too worried about. And the fact that we're past sunset now probably bodes well. But here's the thing, this first batch of rain is just the beginning. There is a ton more to the southwest developing. This big area of rain down in here is actually going to keep rotating through. And that's really why we're having this flood potential. It's not just one batch of rain or all day rain. It's waves of rain that'll be over us for the next couple of days. And the next couple of days are really going to dictate how much of a flood threat we end up seeing. Let me widen the view here, and you can kind of see the wider view of this thing. As we widen out, I'm going to show you this upper low, which is back over parts of Illinois right now. And what's happening is we got this big influx of moisture, which if you look down into the tropics, you can actually see the moisture plume coming up there. There's a little disturbance down here, another one there. All this is going to move up into the Carolinas. And the thing that makes this a higher potential for flooding is the fact that we've got the Appalachian Mountains. The Appalachians are, south to north, kind of northeast to southwest facing mountains. And so what happens is if the wind starts swinging around to the south or southeast, and we end up with this upslope flow, we call it, it hits those mountains perpendicularly and lifts the air up, and we end up with really heavy rainfall in this area. And that actually causes water to come downstream. So the potential for flash flooding along the Catawba chain is pretty high. So here's the headlines. Heavy rain impacts, waves of tropical downpours the next couple of days, really through Thursday. High water on the Catawba chain, and I think that's where we'll see the highest risk. And just to show you the flash flood threat today, you could see it was kind of in the medium range there, back through the mountains and foothills. that's the area where we're seeing some heavy rain right now. But as you get down into the Piedmont, it's kind of in the low to medium range. But watch what happens as we go into tomorrow. The higher risk starts shifting into that area of the mountains and foothills right in there. That's where we'll see the higher risk because of that southeasterly flow. And if the rain band sets up like this, you're going to see the yellow going out to the coast. That's because there'll probably be a fire hose of moisture coming right into there, and that's going to set the stage for potential flooding. That's tomorrow. Let's look at Wednesday. Looks identical, same exact location of heavy rainfall. And again, notice we're getting closer to the Piedmont here. So everywhere in the mountains, I expect heavy rain. The question is how far south this gets. But remember, even if we don't see a lot of heavy rain here in the Charlotte area, this water is going to come downstream. So it's going to come down the Catawba chain. Now, I'll blow this up full screen here. And that eventually is going to cause high water levels on all the lakes. If you were on the lakes this weekend, there was a lot of water being released from the dams. There's probably going to be a lot more releases here in the next couple of days to try to move this water downstream. Because from Lake James all the way to Lake Wylie, you got to start moving that water now to make room for that. And as you look at some of the plumes of moisture, it's pretty impressive. This is something we call precipitable water. It is crazy to see this much moisture wrapping around the upper lobe. Now that thing off the East Coast, that's Arthur. Arthur was the non-issue. We kind of expected it to be nothing to worry about. And while everyone was watching Arthur, kind of everyone took their eyes off this upper low. I started talking about last week because it was pretty interesting. And this is that atmospheric moisture. Look at that deep tropical moisture wrapping all the way around and then getting pulled back into the Carolinas like this. There's Arthur moving off to the east. But this thing, as long as the low is to our west, the counterclockwise flow is going to focus all of that moisture right into the Carolinas. And that's why the potential for heavy rain is there. So let's look at Futurecast real quickly just to show you some of the bands of heavy rain. Another one's going to come in through about 2, 3 in the morning. Now, I can't rule out some thunder and lightning with this, but I don't expect a ton. But you're probably going to hear those downpours. The downspouts and the gutters are going to be loud. This stuff will be raining against the house. These are tropical downpours, 1, 2, maybe 2.5 inches per hour. So in the overnight hours, we might see some flood warnings issued, and you're certainly going to get awoken by this stuff in the middle of the night. Now we wake up tomorrow morning, just some light sprinkles, kind of a lull briefly, and then it kind of redevelops into the afternoon. And you can see the orientation of these. These rain bands. The way they're setting up is they're basically, the individual bands are moving this way, but the cells within the rain bands are pushing like this. So this area right in here is getting absolutely clobbered with heavy rain. And this is tomorrow night. You see how this is just how the focus of this is turning like this now, and you're seeing that real heavy rain moving in from the southeast. So this is a really significant setup for flash flooding, especially on those eastern facing slopes. We go through Wednesday. I mean, look at this. It's just Wednesday afternoon, Wednesday night. Boy, that's a big plume of moisture. So you see for a while there, we had a lot of rain over the Charlotte area. That's why I think at some point we're going to see that flood watch expanded from here down to the southeast. I wouldn't be surprised if that happens tonight or tomorrow. We go into Wednesday night into Thursday. There's still tons of rain around. Now, the Weather Prediction Center puts out these 7-day rainfall maps, and it's pretty crazy to see how high the numbers are in here. Let me pause this for a second. Before I put the numbers on here, let's go in closer and look at the mountains and foothills here. So there's Boone, there's parts of Upper Caldwell. If you look carefully, this color right here corresponds to roughly 7 to 10 inches. I mean, that's crazy. That is a crazy amount of moisture there. That's a 10-inch total there. And then even across the Piedmont, you're looking at these red to orange, you're looking at 4 to 5 inches of rain. So pretty significant. I have 4 to 8. I should put 4 to 10 because that's definitely the potential for seeing that much rain. And these cutoff lows, you may have heard me talk about the cutoff low. So what the heck is a cutoff low, Brad? Low pressure systems are essentially our storm systems in the atmosphere. And what happens is, I'm going to widen this out because I can illustrate what's going on here. The jet stream is doing this and going this way. So typically low pressure forms in the troughs. Well, what happened is this low got cut off from the flow. Basically the jet stream decided to go north and not move it. So it's in an area where there's no air movement. If it was in the stream, think of this as like a river. and these storms are like boats going down river. Well, if the river decides to go up here and just cut off, this thing gets cut in like a little eddy or behind a rock or something, and it just sits there. It doesn't have anything to push it along, kind of gets stuck there for a while. So it just sits over us until eventually this trough swings east, or this weakens and lifts north. Sometimes these cutoff lows just literally have to what we call fill themselves. They just have to sit over us and weaken until the pressure rises and they become nothing more. So it's a pretty fascinating setup, because here it is. You see that energy. This is Wednesday, Thursday. I mean, normally storms move, right? But a couple days, it's over in the same spot on Thursday. You know, we're going into Friday. Oh, it's starting to move a little bit. It's weakening, but it's over Virginia. It's Friday, and it's basically moved from Kentucky to Tennessee to Virginia in about 4 to 5 days. And then finally we get to the weekend. A couple things happen this weekend. It starts moving this way, but the flow behind it's northwest. That's a drier flow, so we're getting out of that. Remember, a counterclockwise spin around these things. The east side is where all the moisture is coming in from the Atlantic. The back side, you're getting north and northwest winds, so that's typically a drier flow. So if you're looking for, like, when is this thing gonna get the heck out of here, it looks like it's going to be this weekend. So real quickly, just to look at the rainfall totals or rainfall chances this week. It's rare that I ever put 90% chances in a couple days ahead of time, because that's a pretty high chance. I'll never put 100% chance 2 or 3 days out, because that's too much certainty. It's always, to me, it's like a 1 or 99%. But the fact that we're going 90% and 80% on Thursday should tell you that this is a pretty significant threat for flooding and rain over the next couple of days. The other thing I will tell you, though, is it's not going to rain the entire time. I sometimes I hate the word washout, because to me a washout is it rains literally all day. Now, it may feel like that to you, but this is going to come in waves. There's going to be downpours, and then there'll be an hour or two break where it's just cloudy, then another wave of rain for an hour or two, then a break. That's kind of what we're going to see here. We're not going to see just a steady rain all day. The problem is, when those rain bands are over us, they're not going to be light rain. It's either going to be dry or a waterfall. I mean, that's basically, and because it's going to be so many of those over the next couple of days, they just, it just eventually we start to see the soil gets saturated, the creeks and streams get flooded, and eventually everything starts coming up. So the good news is tonight's just kind of the precursor. There's not a lot going on. The next couple of nights, I think things will get a lot worse. So you still have a day to kind of plan and prepare. I saw someone posting about, worrying about their basements. I mean, we all know our homes, and we know the area around our house where the water is an issue. Make sure those downspouts are cleared out. One thing I'm trying to do, I try to clear all my storm drains in front of my house today, make sure water could get there. I made sure all my downspouts and everything was cleared out so water could flow and get away from the house and the crawl space. And something you could do tonight or tomorrow before the real heavy stuff comes in again is, even in between bands of showers, is get out there and make sure that stuff is cleaned up before we get into the worst of this tomorrow. So I'll be tracking this tonight at 11. We've got that next band of rain. Let me go back to the radar here quickly, and I'll kind of show you where the next band is, because we've got rain over us right now. Yeah, somebody asking about what this was snow. It'd be a lot of snow, let's just say that. Man, if you ever had this much moisture and cold enough, it'd be great. So there's our rain right now. You see it pushing through, and even the rain over, it's not in a big hurry to move. The rainfall rates in here, and this is what I'm talking about. Look at this rainfall over Monroe. I mean, now it's not going to sit there for an hour, but if it did, that's 5 inches of rain in an hour. It's a crazy amount. This is why I'm saying that these are very efficient rainfall makers. When there's this much atmospheric moisture, it's like having a giant sponge that's completely saturated, and you just got to barely touch it and it squeezes water out. Well, in this case, the sponge is completely saturated, it's staying saturated, and so we barely touch it, and we get 3, 4, 5 inches of rain per hour out of these cells. So that's the kind of stuff we're looking at tonight. And there's another band coming in, and again, that's going to be here probably at 2 or 3 in the morning. So just wanted to do a quick update tonight on what's going on with our flood threat. It's not over. If you haven't seen a ton of rain yet, that's kind of expected today as we're easing into it. The next couple of days, this is going to fill in, and probably by tomorrow night, and especially Wednesday, and eventually by Thursday. this stuff's going to have an accumulative effect. It's eventually going to cause issues. So one day somebody's going to get clobbered, the next day somebody else is, but by the end of the week we're all going to end up with a ton of rain. So the good news is you don't have to water anything this week. Don't water it. You'll get plenty of it this week. The problem is, though, we're going to have to deal with some flooding. So thanks for tuning in tonight. I'll see you guys tonight at 11 on WCNC. And, of course, I'll try to do one of these maybe tomorrow and Wednesday as well to keep you ahead. And stay tuned to my vlogs. I'm going to post a vlog, I think, every morning, just updating what's going on with this thing as we go through the week and get through this, as I can't believe Memorial Day weekend is coming up this weekend. So we'll try to have better weather for you by then. Have a great night, everybody.